guys, what's up? My name is Teresa Coltrane and I'm a life coach, and I specialize helping people learn how to manage their inner critics. So today's topic, I want to talk to you guys about something very serious. I want to talk to you about fear. Yes, fear, the big word, fear, 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 fear. Everyone has fear. So I was in a yoga class yesterday, and it's a women's class on Sunday at Nam Yoga LA. And the teacher asked us to gather around in a circle, and for the waning moon, we were going to talk about one thing that we were going to let go of, and then talk about the other things we want to invite back into our life. The circle was made up of about 30 women, okay? And so we go around the circle, and I was counting. There was at least 10 to 15 women that said that they were wanting to let go of fear. So fear is so huge. We all have it. And so I wanted to tackle this subject. I've been writing about it a little bit and just kind of facing some of my own fears as well. So I just want to talk about it with you guys. Let's crack open this fear. Let's get everyone to face their fears and really just learn how to move past it. Okay, so here's the definition of fear by Google. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous or likely to cause pain or a threat. Okay, so fear, we're talking about fear here, we're talking about something dangerous or there's a threat involved in it. So of course we feel scared, and this fear is just always lingering.
You need the fear.
The fear?
He's right. If you quit this job, you then have motivation to go after a job you really want.
Well, then how come you're still at a job that you hate? I mean, why don't you quit and get the fear?
Because I'm too afraid.
So I started to actually write about this topic, as I'm going to add it to a book that I'm writing. And as I was writing, I had this idea of just thinking about all the people in fear, right? It's almost like those of us in fear, it's almost like we're on this like deserted island, and it's like the island of fear. And everyone's like running around in fear and freaking out. And it's almost like we're like fear zombies, right? Like we're just like, oh my God, we're in fear, but we're we're in fear. I don't know, whatever a fear zombie would look like. But that's just kind of like what I pictured it is. We're just all on this like stranded island, and we're like too consumed with all the fear that we have that we can't even notice that there's actually boats all around the island that have paddles for us, they have sunscreen, they have water, they have food, and a map. And the map is going to take us to Success Island. But most of us are so consumed with this fear that we don't know that there's actually help all around us, and we actually can really save ourselves. So I imagine us being on this island, and I imagine some of us will bump into the boats, and all of a sudden we just like finally get woken up, and we're like, oh, I can't take this fear anymore. I can't stay here anymore. It's not safe for me to stay here any longer. And some of us are like brave enough to like get in the boat and like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know I could save myself. I'm gonna get in this boat. I'm gonna put on the life jacket. And I'm gonna start paddling. And then there's some of us that are like, oh my God, there's a boat here. I didn't even know there was a boat here. Let me just like get in and see what it feels like. And so we get into the boat, we put on the life jackets, and we're kind of sitting there, we're like, okay, we're in the boat, but I don't know if I can push offshore and start paddling. And then some of us are still standing outside the boat, and we're going, oh my gosh, there's a boat. Like, what do we do with this? Like, I could actually save myself, but I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. And so we just don't even get into the boat. So that's kind of the way I picture, like kind of where people are at with their fear levels. And so I was definitely the person that was looking at the boat. I couldn't even get into the boat. I was looking at the boat in this life story that I want to share with you. So this brings me back to a time when I was in one of the most hardest transitions of my life, which was at the start of my divorce. So I was definitely the person that was looking at the boat. I knew that the relationship I was in with my husband was no longer serving both of us. It wasn't healthy for both of us to stay. But I was so scared. I had so much fear around the process. I couldn't even get into the boat. I was paralyzed with fear. I had so many fears. And so I was actually paralyzed for almost 3 years. It took me a while to really understand what was going on and really understand what my fear was about and what was happening in my life. And so that's the scary thing about fear, is it can actually keep us paralyzed for a very long time. And what I started to notice is that the holidays would come around or a birthday would fly by and I would still be stuck in the same exact place. And I would watch other people move on in their lives and just be thriving and happy. And I was still stuck, and I hated being there. So I had enough torture after that for a while. I was working with a coach and a counselor, and just was doing a lot of self-reflection and really just trying my best to really understand myself in this situation. So I want to share a few tips that help me get the courage and willpower to just get into the boat and put the life jacket on, and then eventually start to paddle. So one of the things I did when I was going through this life transition was I had to learn to face all of my fears. I had to face every single fear I had about this situation in leaving the relationship. And so for me, it meant taking out a piece of paper, and I wrote down all of my fears. I wrote down everything I was afraid of, and I took each one and I just examined each one, and as I was going through the list, I did a fact-checking process. I wanted to make sure what I was fearing, was it actually true? So some of the fears that I had was that I wasn't going to be able to survive on my own financially. I didn't know where I was going to live. I was worried my dog didn't want to come with me. I was worried about losing the relationship with my husband. It's a really hard transition. What if I was making the wrong decision? And so the list went on and on and on and on and on. But it turns out a lot of the fears that were on my list, they were valid fears, but they weren't actually true. There was a way around them. So I had a solution for each one of the fears. So it kind of died down the whole fear aspect. Like once I had an answer for everything, I was like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And so I knew I owed it myself to try to make this transition, because where I was at was no longer serving me, and it was no longer healthy to stay where I was at. So I needed to be able to move forward with my life. So another part of that, besides writing down the fears, was to actually just think about, what am I at risk if I don't make this transition? So that was also something really a big wake-up call too. It's like, what are you risking by not making this change because you're so stuck in fear? And for me, that was just being paralyzed in my life and not making any movement forward. I wasn't growing, I wasn't evolving, and I wasn't enjoying my life. And then finally, you'll hear people talk about this a lot, but what's the worst that can happen? So what I did is I walked myself through the worst case scenario of every situation that I was afraid of, and decided, okay, can I live with this if this actually happens? And I think that's always what it is, especially if you're going to make a decision, is you have to just decide what are the what ifs that you can live with, because there's going to be a what if either way, but you definitely want to just evaluate the ones that you can actually live with and the ones that you can't, and also help you out of that space as well. So I hope you found these tips helpful. Fear can be so debilitating and paralyzing, and it can really ruin someone's life. And as I was reading the definition in the beginning, it's an emotion. It's an emotion we feel when we're uncomfortable. And most of the time when we get uncomfortable, it just means that there's a prompt. It's something in life is prompting us to take note that something needs a change. We never change when we're comfortable, we always change when we're uncomfortable. So just take it as a message to start looking at your life, seeing what's being highlighted to you that may not be working, and just evaluate that fear, check in with yourself, and just love and trust yourself unconditionally. If something is coming up inside your body and you can feel it in your heart, and it's just constantly on your mind, that's your higher self talking to you and telling you that intuition message. So you have to be brave enough to just trust it, and just be brave enough to trust it. So eventually on my journey, I got brave enough to trust my intuition that was telling me that it was time to move on and to face my fears. And so I got into the boat, I put on my life jacket. I think I probably sat there for a couple days in the boat with a life jacket on, but eventually I started to push off from shore. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going to go, and I was scared. I knew I owed it to myself to live a happy and fulfilled life, and I also wanted my partner to be happy and fulfilled in their life. So I knew that this being scared and paddling off was just the start of it. I knew it was going to be a big journey, but I was brave. I was ready to do it.
Here we go, Wilson. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll do all the paddling. You just hang on.
And I wanted to look at the opportunities that were lying ahead of me. So just know that you can save yourself. You just got to give yourself a little time, and you just got to show up for yourself and work through your fear, see what's coming up for you, and just trust yourself, find this space to become brave and get in that boat, put on your life jacket, and just start paddling and see where the boat takes you, and just know it's all part of the journey, and you deserve to be happy and thriving in your life. I would love to support you on your journey, so please contact me for a free 30-minute consultation. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch more videos like these. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Let Go Live, or visit my website, letgolivecoaching.com. I can't wait to meet you. You are amazing and you deserve to be happy and thriving in your life. Keep sharing your light. We need you, okay? So don't be afraid. I'm here for you. I got your back. Let's do this together. Mwah!